guys, it's me Gwen, and it's been a while since we've been doing this YouTube, channel, and we've been getting the same questions over and over again, which happens to be the frequently asked questions. So today, for TOEIC Speaking, I prepared my answers to those frequently asked questions. So let's get on with it. Part 1, read a text aloud. Actually, there are two passages in this part, and there have been some frequently asked questions regarding this part on this channel. So, question number 1. Has there been any changes to part 1? Because recently there has been some adjustments for part 1 throughout the whole test. So, has there been any changes to part 1? And I would say no. There are two passages as always, and you're given 45 seconds to prepare and then 45 seconds to answer. So no, there have been no changes made to part 1. Question number 2 is, do I have to read fast? I hear this question all the time. Do I have to read quickly? Do I have to read fast in order to get good score? And I would say no. Do not read so fast. It isn't necessary for the test, if you're taking the test, for you to speak or read too fast. Just keep the moderate speed, which is not too slow, and try to show them that you well understood the meaning phrases, you know where to, make those phrases or sort of make a stop. And you should show them you know how to read the English words properly or correctly using the right English pronunciation. I would like to make one comment about this. Some people, have like mixed accents. They have experience of living abroad in Australia, and later on they move to, USA, and they have sort of like mixed accent. Sometimes they use British accent for some words, and then they use American accent for some words, and it's all mixed up. I recommend not to use mixed accent, okay? If you would like to use British accent, just stick with it, 100%. And if you would like to use American accent, just stick with it, okay? Don't go here and there, there and here. Just try to make it, the same. So that's one thing that I would like to mention, because I see lots of like Korean students who are really fond of British accent, and they really want to like imitate. They sort of want to mimic those characters they see in the movies. And it's fine. I love people who have British accents. It's very charming. But if you can't do it perfectly, you might as well, try to stick one thing. Now, so don't read too fast. Question number 3 for part 1 is, what should I do when I have time left? The passages are not that long. Normally, like for me, when I read it once, it takes me only like 15 seconds. You're supposed to read for 45 seconds, so it means that I have like 30 seconds remaining. And it's really awkward. You feel very odd just to be like sitting there. This is what I do. I read it again. Starting from the beginning, I read it all over again. And even when I'm done with my second time, I have time remaining. I go to the beginning again and I start my third lap. So I read it almost like, twice and a half. Because it doesn't really matter whether you get cut off or not after you're done reading it once. Do you understand? It doesn't really matter whether you get cut off or not, as long as you've finished once. After reading it once, just go like a little bit freely with the second part, the second laps, and try to show that you're more confident and don't make any mistakes when you're going for the second laps, okay? So I would say read it again, and it doesn't really matter whether you get cut off or not in the middle for the second time. Don't try to read too quickly and fast and make mistakes and try to fit that in within the time. It's just fine. For me, I read it twice and a half, but don't do it fast. 45 seconds is a time that you paid for. So I suggest to use it for, fully. Just try to fulfill the 45 seconds with your voice. Why not? So that was Gwen's answer for the FAQs of part 1. And now we're going to move on to part 2, which is describe a picture. So here, you're given only one picture, which means that it's only one chance you have. So you're given a picture, a color picture, which is a huge difference between TOEIC and TOEIC Speaking. So when you're given a color picture, there are more things to say. And here is the first frequently asked question, which is, has there been any changes to part 2? Has there been any changes to part 2? And yes, there have been one change made to part 2, and which is you're given longer preparation time. Yay! So So before, you had only 30 seconds to prepare, which was fairly okay. It wasn't too short, actually. But now you're given more time. You're given 45 seconds. Wow. So you can actually take this time to look through the picture, see carefully what you would like to say, and you can think about some like things that you would like to mention. And one more advantage is that you can take notes. Yes, you're given a piece of scratch paper. You're given this, thing to write with, and you can take notes. So looking at the picture, you can, take some notes on, oh, I'm not going to forget this. I'm going to mention this word. I'm going to say this, and that. And you can you look at the notes while you're providing the answer. It's okay. So yes, there have been two major changes made. First, you have longer preparation time. The answering time is the same. You would respond for 45 seconds. And two, you can take notes. You can use the scratch paper. So I always, encourage my students to take notes during the preparation time when we're practicing. And one tip that I always give them is like when you have the paper down there on your desk, you have to do something like this, right? You're looking at the screen, and then you're looking at the scratch paper, you're looking at the screen. And I tell my students, why do you have to do that, right? All you have to do is just pick up your paper and put it next to the screen, so you can just roll your eyes like this, and you can just you don't have to move up and down. I know, it's a huge skill, so you must remember this, okay? Just don't go like this, okay? You can sometimes forget about what you're talking, so just pick it up. It's legal, it's not illegal, all right? Just pick it up and look at it. And second frequently asked question is, what should be the main focus when describing a picture? All right. I mention this all the time when I talk about the test questions and answers. And the main focus should be me, right? So when you're looking at the screen, there's only me in this, screen. So of course, you're going to be seeing me in the center. But you see, there's the drawers back there. There are some plants back there. Ooh, there's a humidifier. What's that back there? The frames. Well, they're not the most important thing here, guys. Focus. It's me, right? So when you see me, you can talk about my hair, my new hair color, which is dark, and you can talk about my shirt, which is white. You can talk about my earrings. But the most important thing here, the aspect of me is that I'm, moving. I'm talking, I'm looking at you guys, I'm making a gesture, and I'm holding a cup, stuff like that. So it's better to talk about a person or people in the picture, and make sure don't say too much about their appearance. It's better to say more about their actions, the verbs. So that should be the main focus. And if you have some more time remaining, sometimes it happens, you just move on too quickly, then you might have some time remaining in the end, then you can mention some things back there. And that's when I tell my students to use the phrase, there are many things such as. Right. So here, behind me, there are many things, such as drawers, plants, and so on. So that's how you do it, okay? Don't go too, deep into those things around people. So that should be the main focus. And frequently asked question number 3 is quite long. Let me read this to you. Is it okay if I get cut off in the middle of my response? I hear this all the time. Because, when you're focusing on your answer, you get cut off. You don't even know time flies. Or should I give a proper ending within the time given? I would say, of course, you should give a proper ending within the time given. It's better, right? It sounds better. It's really you feel very odd and awkward when your answer gets cut off, and you feel very you feel like you're losing confidence. And when you move on to the next part, you're like, oh gosh, I sucked for part 2, so it's not meaningful to do better on part 3. So yeah, it's better to give a full answer within the time limit and sort of feel like you have completed something. You have completed something within the time given. But if you get cut off, I'm pretty sure there are some reasons why you were cut off. Like you were maybe sort of having some hard time finishing up your sentences, or you would had some hardship thinking of some words that you wanted to say. So you were sort of consuming the time there not giving the right sentences or answers. That's why you have like, some more things remaining to talk about in the picture, but still you got cut off. See, the expression itself is you got cut off, right? Which is it's not a very positive, thing. So what I tell my students is, use your timer. You have phones, right? We all use phone, a smartphone. Everybody has a smartphone nowadays. It doesn't have to be a smartphone. If you have a clock or any kind of timer, use it when you're practicing. Time your answers, okay? So look at the timer all the time, 45 seconds. So always when you use the 40 seconds and you have about 5 seconds remaining, that's when you're giving the ending, a proper ending to your answer. So I always tell my students when there's only 5 seconds remaining, all right, everybody, you have to say maybe they're having a good time, maybe they're going somewhere, maybe they're busy. You have to give an ending when you only have 5 seconds remaining. So my answer to this is, it's better to give a proper ending. But in order to do that, you have to practice with a timer. All right, so those are the answers to the questions, the frequently asked questions for part 2.